So here we are, guys. We've been building up to this for quite a bit. Match of the Millennium. Well, the full name in the dub is Yugi versus Pegasus Match of the Millennium, but everybody just calls it Match of the Millennium because, yeah, or at least I've always done it. So, I got about a page and a half of notes just for the... Is that all for the thing? Well, yeah, for the most part, it's like a page and a half for the dub, and then like a page for the sub, including my preferences. Yes, I have to say preferences, plural, because for the second time ever, the numbers have actually been altered by different episodes. This actually happened back with, if I can find them, the episodes Light at the End of the Tunnel and Winning Through Intimidation. Oh, okay, no, that was right. It's just I got confused because there was only one note for the dub of the second part of the Panic Duel. I was like, wait, what? So that actually got me a little confused because there's so many notes on that one. But yeah, no, it was literally just the sub got an extra point and the dub sat there here with only 3 points, which actually, funny enough, started. I wonder where that started to actually. Hang on. When did that start to shift? Because I'm like, huh? Oh, okay. Apparently that started to shift around Shining Friendship. Yep. Forgive me, I'm just trying to see where the hell this could have started. Okay, yeah, and then Champion versus Creator bumped it up to 6. That was neither. Oh, okay, so it was a combination of Keith's machinations and Best of Friends, Best of Duelists. Okay. Although that was more of a barely. Which is funny, because Best of Friends, Best of Duelists also pissed me off so goddamn hard that I'm almost tempted to retract those 2 points from the dub. I really am. And just say neither, because it's kind of an episode. But I'd be lying, because I do prefer it in the dub for that one. But we've got an interesting point here, because, well, the first 2 episodes kind of were neither for me. Well, parts 1, 2, and 4 were all neither. I found myself preferring the dub of part 3 and the sub of part 5. Yeah. Now, granted, I can actually tell you exactly why that is for part 3, the deciding factor was Mind Shuffle, and the deciding factor in part 5 was the music. That probably sounds really goddamn weird, but I will explain when we get there. So we start off with Yugi having a flashback to some advice that his grandpa gave him, and it's basically the same in both versions. And I wrote it down as a quote from Star Trek. Forgive me. But come on, sometimes Star Trek quotes are just too perfect for certain scenarios. The quote is, it's actually from Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 4, Episode 1, Best of Both Worlds, Part 2. It's specifically the character of Guinan speaking to the now Captain Riker. A man convinced he will die tomorrow will probably find a way to make it happen. I think I think that's actually a misquote, because I think she says, as a man who is convinced. But you get the point, right? So Yugi has to go in with confidence, even though he's still doubting the Millennium Eye's powers, which is, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, so fucking stupid at this point, but that's a point for later. So then Tristan plans to go and try and free Mokuba from all this crap, which is cool, which is a neat idea. Then it's explained that there are no, in the dub, there are no limits to the prize you can request. In the sub, it's specifically, you get to take over Industrial Illusions, which is weird, but okay. But yeah, in the sub, it is very clear that because you specifically get 60% of the shares and the CEO position, is specifically what they say. And there's my note about the point about, like, seriously, you're doubting the Millennium Eye now? Come on. God. It's like trying to get people on. It's like trying to get people on board, or trying to appeal to as wide of an audience as you can in the final chapter of an epic trilogy. Mass Effect 3. Sorry, I had to take my pot shot at Mass Effect 3. Come on, because you know what's funny is that, as if you'll forgive the ego stroking a bit here, um yeah, I don't think without Mass Effect 3 I'd be here, because I don't think I'd be inspired enough to actually have done this. Yes, I'm going that far. Anyways, so Bakura stays silent on where Tristan has gone, because Tristan explained his plan to Bakura. And then there's the stakes. Basically, Yugi will become a part of Pegasus' card collection if he loses. Okay. That makes sense. So, we also find out that there's a large amount of security around Mokuba, which admittedly makes more sense in the sub than it is in the dub, because they still need the key. Which begs the question of why in the holy fuck Pegasus took the soul when he still needs the key. You see why I say the card key is a fucking plot hole, right? Because again, as far as they know, they don't have the location of the card key, which is stupid. Mind scan done. There's plot convenience, and then there's then there's your villain being a complete fucking moron. This is the latter, in case my tone is not giving it away. Also, the Millennium Ring can apparently eavesdrop on a conversation. Okay then. I'm wondering if I want to talk about this. You know what? Let's talk about the subplot first, because there isn't as much to talk about. So we'll just talk about the subplot first. I don't actually have a lot of notes, believe it or not. I think I have, let's see, if you include anything I mentioned with Bakura, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 11 notes, and none of them were taken in while I was with the subversion, because the subversion was just reinforcing the dub notes. So yeah, 11 notes, and I want to, let's see, and I will give you a grand total in a second. 51. 51 total notes across as both versions. Like I said, that's about 2.5 pages of notes, so give or take. So yeah. So anyways, so they go and rescue so Tristan goes and rescues Mokuba. In the dub, Bakura basically says he wants a soulless body. Now, the funny thing is that people have bent over backwards, specifically 4Kids haters, dub haters and 4Kids haters alike, have bent over backwards to explain why that's a giant freaking plot hole made by dialogue substitutions. See, I disagree. I think that that's them plugging a plot hole, because, well, I'm not going to spoil anything, but once Yami Bakura's true identity is revealed, you have to ask the simple question of why in the holy mother of fuck does he want to take over Kaiba Corp? Or with those documents. Now, I know some people have bent over backwards to say, well, it's because we find out later that he's a thief, right? He's the king of thieves. Cue some Disney songs from the third Aladdin movie. Well, welcome to the 40 Thieves. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop. I suck at singing, I'll stop. I apologize. Anyways, but the thing is, I think it makes more sense that he would want a soul. It's like a soulless vessel. Now, the thing is everybody keeps bringing up the fact that, oh, you could have just taken Mokuba's soul right then. Well, there's two reasons why I say that that doesn't actually work. Number one, well, Mokuba's soul would still return to his body, and he would just basically be fighting both. Like, he would still need the ring to continue, right? To continue to have his powers, right? Which would give Mokuba a chance to fight back, right? I don't know. It just feels like Mokuba would not be as weak as, the people who say, "Oh, there's a soulless vessel, just take him," seem to make it out to be. Which kind of bugs the everlasting shit out of me because you're selling Mokuba short. And it really feels like you shouldn't be selling Mokuba short, you know? But of course, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. So then we come to, this is where Bakura starts using his shadow magic to make the cards reality. I've always found this idea fascinating, and it's mostly from this five-parter. The idea being that, the idea of the monsters being real, right? The damage being real and all of that. Now, yes, they do try to do this more so in season 4, but again, season 4 is also the season where we fuck a lot of shit up, so I'm going to praise it here where it really got started instead of saving it for the 4th season where they fucked it up. So, I've always liked the idea of real combat, real monsters, real combat, that kind of a thing. Because the idea then becomes the stakes are real when a person with a Millennium item shows up. And I've always thought that was an interesting concept. Does it work all that great? Yes and no, but it's something that I've actually enjoyed as a concept. So the idea of chain energy, man-eater bug, and morphing jar all being, having their powers be real is something that appeals to me on a very large scale. So, yeah, I'm with it. Also, who the hell designed this castle? Like, seriously, who the fuck designed this castle? Ugh, I can't remember if Pegasus was supposed to be the one who designed the castle or the one who took over this castle. Because admittedly, you could explain that away with, a portion of the castle that's not there anymore because A, B, or C. But that looks like outside wall to me with that entire one side. So, yeah, WTF. Although it still looks like there was like a pathway, so maybe there was supposed to be a connecting bridge to another part of the castle or something. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know, and I frankly don't care all that much. It is still kind of like, really? But, meh. Do I have anything else? I guess I didn't mention Miyami Bakura's true want, which, yes, is the last thing I have to talk about with the subplot. I could have sworn I would have had more, but no, I really don't. And that's the other thing too. Bakura is after the Millennium items. As interesting as it would be to have a creepy fucking Mokuba again, let's not go back to Season 0 because, frankly, Season 0, in some aspects, including having Mokuba be creepy as fuck, were shit ideas. And yes, I do know that they were from the original manga. They were shit ideas even in the original manga. Ugh. Anyways, so let's move on. Okay. Also, one last thing to point out, I definitely prefer Ted Lewis's dub voice for Yamabukura over... Sorry. Over the Japanese voice actor. It's not that the Japanese voice actor is bad, it's just... I don't know, it feels weird, that weird voice coming out of his mouth just sounds off to me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I think that's it, so we need to do flip back again. Sorry that's been happening a lot, but that's gonna happen with episodes this freaking big. So, Yugi starts out by trying to do a combo that Pegasus knows is coming, namely Horn of the Unicorn and Beaver Warrior. This also comes to an idea that the sub brings out, and I basically wrote it down because I'm sick and tired of the sub trying to make attributes mean anything, and trying to pretend like attributes mean a fuck all when they mean absolutely fucking nothing. I'm sick and tired of the sub doing that. This is like the 10th fucking time that they've brought this up, and it's pissing me off. Because you want to know how much attributes matter in this fucking game? They didn't really start actually mattering for freaking years. Until at least GX. GX is where they actually started having attributes be worth a damn, and that was just with the elemental heroes. Yes, I know there's the floating searchers, but those were a one-off gimmick. Because and that's the thing, the attributes aren't even mattering for that, right? We don't see giant rat searching out earth monsters. We don't see well, actually, I think we see Mystic Tomato do that once, and that's if his effect is the same in the anime. Yeah, so we see Mystic Tomato once in season 2 in one episode of like a 3-parter. So we don't see giant rat. We don't see mother grizzly for water attribute. We don't see I forget the fire one, but we don't see that one. We don't see the light one, which I think is Shining Angel. The dark one is Mystic Tomato, so again, I can't really count Mystic Tomato in this. What am I missing? Earth, water, fire, light, dark, wind. We don't see the wind one, which I also don't remember the name of. We also don't see those cards like Bladefly that are up certain attributes. We don't even see the field spells that do that. So, no, I'm sorry. Attributes don't mean shit in the DM anime. They don't. So if the sub could do me a solid and fuck off with trying to pretend like they are worth a damn, I'd appreciate it. Oh my god. But I digress. Also, the pace is really more annoying, and that's part of the reason. Like, seriously, fuck off with the attribute bullshit. Ugh. Anyways, so Pegasus counters with Tears of a Mermaid, which is not a real card. Yeah, get used to me saying not a real card or doesn't work that way, and it doesn't work that way a lot, because good lord, are some of these moves just so stupid. So I already talked about Ooh, excuse me. Oh, there is one last note about the Bakura subplot, and that is the ring points him to Mokuba. Why? Anyways, it's not that important. So then Yugi tries a combo of Summon Skull and Spellbinding Circle, which gets hit by Trap Displacement. Another card that, as far as I know, does not actually exist in the real card game. Actually, I can look that up. It just occurred to me. Why would I, why do that? That's bright on there. Let me turn down my brightness. And that's still kind of, okay, there we go. Because I don't need it bright to look this up. Alright, so let's look up, no, not teats. I don't need the, I don't need, I don't need the mermaid's teats. I need her tears. Don't read too much into that. But yeah. So then there's that. So then we have Trap Displacement. Which also looks like it wasn't a real card. So, yeah, in other words, not real card is going to continue to be a thing constantly with these cards. Well, at least, well, okay, those two are not real cards, and the one is going to become a real card, that's Mimicat, or Doppelganger. And yeah. Then there's the Gorgon's Eye. So, where the fuck does the Gorgon's Eye go in this duel? Answer me that. Somebody answer me that, please. Because here's the thing. The Gorgon's Eye is supposed to be a permanent trap. And yet Yugi doesn't lose when it becomes a shadow game, even though the Gorgon's Eye, by all accounts, should still be on the board. They don't explain this. They literally call it a permanent trap in both versions. In the dub, Pegasus says permanent trap. In the sub, he says continuous trap. Like what? Did the mirror force destroy it too? I mean, that would be an explanation, but it's still dumb. So then Pegasus calls out Doppelganger, who wants to become Summon Skull so it can be transformed to Toon's Summon Skull. I don't have much to say about it. So, let's move on. Oh, there's another note about Yami Bakura I didn't talk about, is sadism. But then again, I suppose we shouldn't be surprised at this point. Okay, so now we're on to part 3, finally. Yeah, we're only this far into the video. I'm 27 minutes into this video, and I'm already on part 3. Yeah, this isn't going to be that long, because a lot of it is just... Well, a lot of it, unfortunately, is empty text and action, and I don't have a lot to say about either empty text or action, so moving on. So let's talk about the Mind Shuffle, shall we? Now, some people have claimed that the Mind Shuffle is not foreshadowed well, and doesn't make much sense because of the whole Pegasus could seem to read minds all perfectly. And yet, here's where the dub actually plugs another plot hole. See, as I said back with the card key thing, I mean, yes, the whole not bringing up the card key plot point did create a plot hole. I'm not trying to say that the vessel thing is not a plot hole, okay? My notes literally say the vessel plot hole. Well, right there. You know? But it's my second last note of part 3, but... Well, of my dub notes for part 3 anyway. But here's the thing. The Mind Shuffle... I say it perfectly in the frickin'... in my notes for for part 3, the mind shuffle makes sense in the dub. Because in the dub, the idea is they're the two minds have converged. So what Yugi plans to do is split and shuffle between them. So instead of combine, shuffle. Make sense? I mean, if you want a visual demonstration, let me put it to you this way. Okay? Hey? So, pretend like this is Yugi's mind, okay? So Yugi's mind, right? It's two minds in one body. And what they've been doing is they've been just fighting like this, combined as one. But this is not working against Pegasus because Pegasus can just read the combined mind. So the idea is split the mind into two, somehow cheat and put a Dark Magician in a different magic hat, and then continue to shuffle the cards around and confusing the shit out of Pegasus. I will stop because I feel like somebody is going to get annoyed at that and or sick. But you get my point, right? So he shuffles them around. They shuffle their minds around so Pegasus can't read their minds. Yugi will place some cards, but then Atem will take over, and oh look, Atem doesn't know what those set cards are, so screw you, you don't get to know. Yeah. Now, granted, when he turns things into a shadow game, that ends up stopping working, but that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Because, well, the Constitution draining. But I do need to talk. Actually, there is something from part 2 I need to bring up. Specifically, the Celtic Guardians attack. It's dumber in the sub. In the dub, at least, Pegasus doesn't bring up the whole only Toons can destroy Toons thing. In the sub, he says it frickin' twice. Once before Yugi makes his stupid Celtic Guardian attack, and then once after. The fact that he makes it before is my point. What the hell did he think was going to be accomplished with that feat? You know? But I digress. Also, while we're on the subject, but yeah, that's about it. It's literally my only sub note for part 2. And then in part 3, we have 2 notes that I should address. Alright, let's get the ranty one out of the way now. Why the fuck is Yugi explaining that there's 2 minds in his body? This is the 3rd fucking time he's explained that in this series. In DM. What the fuck, writers? Can we stop having the fucking gang have the memories of goldfish and just have a Tim known to the fucking team already? By memory, this is the last time that any opportunity for this ever comes up. But it really, I thought we had already gotten past this before, but nope. Here we are. I'm sorry, but this repetitious bullshit is starting to drive me up a goddamn wall. They should know this by now. Just let them fucking know this already. Moving on. Speaking of feeling, yeah, my other note about subnote from part 3 is actually apt for this. It's starting to get draining to keep having to complain about this. Why don't they know about a Tem thing? It starts to really piss me off. I know there's a point where they will stop up and actually have a Tem be fucking known to the crew. But that's like in season 2 or 3. And that's dumb. It's so fucking dumb. Yeah. But that's not why I wrote down feeling drained, though. because I do need to explain something, because what's funny is then because part 5 then came out and was like, here, I'm gonna have awesome music to just to slap you across the face for having this thought, Blue Wolf. But I was starting to feel drained, and the reason I was feeling drained was, by that point, I was on the 8th of 10 episodes. So I still had, the 8th, ninth, and 10th episode of this night, of this morning, night, however you want to strike it, this early morning. I was on the 8th of 10, which means I had 3 episodes left to watch, because it was at the beginning of part 3 that I was feeling this drained. And I want to explain that, because I basically shot myself in the foot with the very format of how I'm doing this. Because again, like I said, I'm watching all of the dub, then I'm watching all of the sub, and I'm trying to do it back to back to back to back to back. I'm trying to binge it all in one day. So if it's a 5 or 6 part episode, I'm going to want to try and do it all in one day instead of trying to spread it out over across multiple days, which would probably be the preferred idea. Watch, 1 or 2 episodes, take my notes, and then if I'm feeling too drained, take a break, take a breather, and then, and make sure my breather is at the end of an episode. Mark that I needed to take a breather in my notes, so that way I know, to be honest with you, that I did take a break. But it really felt like it felt like I was being drained of all of my ability to keep going with this, because of that very nature. And it was starting to drive me up a goddamn wall. And then part 3 started pissing me right the fuck off in the sub, which is why the part 3 is the one that got the point in the dub, because the mind shuffle explanation and the exposition about 2 fucking Yugis again was just the last straw for me. I was like, this is so fucking stupid. And again, that's probably because, again, so many goddamn people fucking praise this. It praise the Japanese version as brilliant when it's not that brilliant. Anyways. Where was I? Right. So they mentioned that Pegasus's skill has been slipping, mostly because he's been relying on the power of the Millennium Eye too much. Not an unfair assessment. But then Pegasus neutralizes the magical hats with magical neutralizing force, which then Yugi pulls the living arrow and mirror force combo, which, as it's presented, makes no sense. So I just decided to headcanon it that technically mirror force was always active and living arrow was played second. Now this comes down to the point of chains. Now I don't know if I've explained this yet or not, because I think this was really where I wanted to talk about the whole chain thing. Anyway, but the idea is supposed to be that there's a chain reaction, basically. But the chain always goes backwards, right? So here's the goes backwards in order. So let's say example, this is the first card that's activated. Then we chain it, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Well, the way that the resolution is going to go is fifth, fourth, third, second, first. Now, the Yu-Gi-Oh animes, by memory, always play fast and loose with this. I think it's basically until Arc 5, actually, sadly, that they actually stopped being so goddamn loose with this. I could be wrong, and 5Ds could have pulled this and done this. I'm going to be surprised if GX actually proves me wrong, but, again, we'll see. Now, of course, I'm obviously counting the sub in that assessment. Because, of course, I am, because the sub tends to be the part that fucks this up. Because, again, it's how it's animated. Because if this was animated properly, what the order of events would have been: Mirror Force activates to reflect the attack, and then Pegasus is like, oh, pfft, yeah, guess what? that my Toons are still protected because they're inside Toon World. Then Yugi flips over the Living Arrow card to use Magical Neutralizing Force to destroy Toon World. Which, funny enough, would actually work with what they actually call it, which is Spell Shattering Arrow. Which actually works that way in the actual card game. Destroying continuous spell cards, I mean. Or destroying spell cards on the opponent's side of the field, is what I mean. Actually, let me look one last thing up. Yes, I know. You're sick of me pulling out my phone during a video. But this is important, so I need to do it. Bear with me. Because I need to look up Spell Shattering Arrow. There we go. Yes. Spell Shattering Arrow. Yeah, it's face-up spell cards. I thought the real-world effect would correct my, would actually be like, oh, hey, here's the plug of your plot hole, of the plot hole here. But nope. I mean, I guess maybe Magic Neutralizing Force would get rid of all spells and it gets rid of the traps too. Actually, that would be a good explanation. So let's actually check that, shall we? Magic Neutralizing Force. Actually, Magical Neutralizing Force. Magic loses effect when this card is placed. Maybe not. But I digress. So, yeah. So, no. Magical Neutralizing Force doesn't remove the Gorgonite plot hole. Sorry. I checked. See, this is why I keep my phone handy for these. But yeah. So yeah, if they were animating it properly, Mirror Force would be played, then Living Arrow. So, Either way, it's still I still stand behind the Gorgon's Eye thing being a plot hole. So then Pegasus turns this into a shadow game. Is there anything I really want to mention? Not really, not until the end, so okay. Because the two Yugis communicating is, it's just kind of a side note. So then Dark Eye's Illusionist comes out and is way more powerful than it was in the original. But the monster that this is also where my note about where's Gorgon's Eye comes in, by the way. Because this is where I noticed it. So then Relinquished shows up. Now, Relinquished, talk about a monster that became infinitely useful. See, the funny thing about Relinquished can take an opponent's monster, use it as a shield, or you can just use it to get rid of your opponent's monster, which is awesome. Which is funny because you can also do that with cards like Lava Golem, which we'll talk about later. Excuse me. But yeah. Admittedly, the funny thing about Relinquished is I feel like I should have been more... I feel like this thing should have given me more nightmares than it did. Because, well, for the exact same reason Cell over in the Dragon Ball franchise did. The absorption into nothingness. I don't know why Relinquish didn't, or maybe he did and I just repressed the memory. Who knows? So then Yugi falls, his constitution is at an end. Atem can't keep anything from him, and Jigen Bakudan and then Jigen Bakudan shows up. Also another card that's more useful in the anime than in the original. And doesn't work and does work differently. It's way more useless in the real card game just because of its terabat stats. Ugh. So here's the thing that bugs me. Why is it that we keep forgetting about the whole pulling cards, like relying on top decks being a viable strategy against the mind scan? I mean, yeah, granted, you could say, well, he'll know which card you're really wanting, but at the same time, well, it's just kind of like really, like for let's take Mystic Box for example, which I know comes out at in part 5, but it's just like you guys are forgetting his Millennium magic has limits. Come on now. But anyway, speaking of part 5, let's just move on to part 5 because yeah. So then Grandpa gives a speech of saying that basically just says you're not alone, and then the power of friendship blocks the Millennium Eye. Now, I'm all for the power of friendship when it's used well. I think it's actually used well here. I do think it actually works for what it is here. It's not too hokey, but it's also not too underpowered to the point of being pointless. And I like that. I really do. Here's my note about Mystic Box. No, you wouldn't have been able to counter it. So then Yugi brings out Dark Magic Ritual. The card that took the last of Yugi's strength to play. They say it's the last of his courage in the sub, and it's just like, no, strength, courage, really the same thing in this case. So then the Magician of Black Chaos descends, which is actually one of my personal favorites, although most people kind of remember him in his Dark Magician of Chaos form from the GX days because of how ridiculously powerful it was. Yeah. Which is funny because Pegasus mentions taking Magician of Black Chaos's effects, except Magician of Black Chaos is just a level 8, 2800 attack point spellcaster who's only not a vanilla because he's a ritual monster. Anyways, by the way, the music when Magician of Black Chaos shows up in the sub is actually what gave the sub gave the final part, the point for the final part to the sub. So yeah, the sub got the point for the final part because of the music. Also, Pegasus is so desperate in the sub that he's swearing. He literally says, "God damn!" And shit! It's actually kind of amusing to watch. I mean, obviously, they wouldn't make the dub Pegasus say that because, yeah. But I digress. So then Thousand Eyes Restrict comes out, which is the only banned fusion monster. It was the what? Excuse me, I'm misspeaking. Was the only banned fusion monster for a long time, and was one of the few DM. Is one of the few DM cards that actually stayed on the ban list. In fact, there are several DM. There's actually a few DM cards that are still on the ban list. Some of which make sense, like Yatagarasu, and some that make absolutely no fucking sense. what the fuck, or did Harpy's Feather Duster come off the ban list? I don't remember, but, Harpy's Feather Duster finally coming off the ban list. Why the fuck was that off the ban list? You let fucking pendulums run fucking wild, Konami, but you wouldn't give us Harpy's Feather Duster to sweep them away? Fuck off. anyways. So then Tim wins with Deus Ex Karibo. Apparently, somehow, Karibo is what has to be absorbed instead of Magician of Black Chaos. I don't get that. Whatever, Karibo has been used for Deus Ex Machina way too many times for me to give a shit at this point. So then, the final blow is delivered. Chaos Scepter Blast in the dub, and in the sub, Spell of Destruction, Death Ultima. Yeah, I'll admit, Death Ultima's a cooler name. Although I am partial to Chaos Scepter Blast. Mostly because of the way Atem says it in Duel Links. And here, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. And then it's Yugi that declares the victory. Now, that I found fascinating. Because it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Because it is, indeed, Yugi's victory when you really think about it. And that's Match of the Millennium, guys. So, like I said, Episode 3 gave the dub a preference point, and Episode 5 gave the sub a point. So, the points are still, the dub is ahead by 1, but only by 1, and that might actually change in the coming weeks, because next week is Aftermath. And I'll be honest with you, and I know I shouldn't be prejudging like this, but I don't see the 2 episodes after the 2-parter after that escaping Rant View status. I don't. I mean, we'll see, but I don't predict it will. But next week is Aftermath, and we'll see how that goes. Until next time, though, yeah, this is Blue Wolf Alex of the Lore Walkers signing out. I didn't mention no matter what. I wanted to talk about. I mentioned that at the beginning, how the last episode made me so angry I didn't talk about an aspect. The music video thing that the dub pulls in Best of Friends, Best of Duelists. Yeah, that's part of what tipped it over into the favor. It's mostly nostalgia, but I do not care. It's actually one of the reasons why I was debating putting that off. But anyways, just a little anecdote. I guess I'll just tack on to the end here. But anyways, for real this time, Blue Wolf Alex of the Lore Walkers signing out. Have a good one, and I'll see you next week for an episode that literally has no dueling in it, and is also the final standalone episode of Season 1. See you there, guys. Blue Wolf Alex of the Lore Walkers signing out. Have a good one. Duel standby.